Thank you for joining me for Scary Stories for a Rainy Night. If you want to support the channel, please tap the like button for me, subscribe, and introduce yourself in the comments below. I really hope you enjoy. Now let's begin. In the quaint village of Eldergrove, where cobblestone streets wove through a tapestry of vibrant flora, the moon hung low, casting a silver sheen over the rooftops. Each night, as twilight unfurled its cloak, the villagers would gather around the town square. Drawn together by the whispers of stories that floated like fireflies in the air, among them was a young woman named Alara, whose heart was as wild as the winds that danced through the trees. Alara was known for her insatiable curiosity and a spirit that yearned for adventure. With her raven-black hair cascading like a waterfall down her back, she often found solace in the woods, where ancient trees stood like guardians, their gnarled roots entwined with the earth's secrets. It was here, beneath the whispering leaves, that she first heard the legends of the Moonlight Pool, a mystical body of water said to reflect not only one image, but also the deepest truths of the soul. The tale spoke of a time when the moon would be at its fullest, illuminating the pool with an ethereal glow. On such nights, those brave enough to gaze into its depths would confront their innermost fears and desires. Elders warned, however, that the reflection could reveal not only beauty but also darkness, a double-edged sword that had led many to madness. As the harvest moon approached, Alara felt a pull toward the Moonlight Pool, a call she could not ignore. The villagers, wrapped in their routines, dismissed her longing as folly. Alara's heart beat with the rhythm of untold stories waiting to be unveiled. With each passing day, the anticipation grew, and she knew she would soon embark on a journey that could change her forever. On the eve of the harvest moon, Alara slipped away from the village, the cool night air wrapping around her like a shroud. Guided by the silver glow of the moon, she navigated the familiar paths of the forest, her heart racing with excitement and trepidation. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming jasmine. The sounds of the night enveloped her, creating a symphony of whispers and rustles. After what felt like an eternity, she stumbled upon the Moonlight Pool. It lay nestled in a clearing, surrounded by towering trees that reached for the heavens, their branches forming a natural cathedral. The water shimmered, a mirror reflecting the moon's brilliance. And as Alara approached, she felt a surge of energy pulsing through her veins. Kneeling at the water's edge, she gazed into the depths. At first, she saw only her reflection, eyes wide with wonder. But soon the surface began to ripple, revealing shadows that danced just beneath. Memories flooded back: her childhood laughter, her mother's soothing voice, the warmth of her father's embrace. Yet, beneath the nostalgia, lay a darkness that had haunted her. The loss of her sister Lyra, who had vanished one fateful night, swallowed by the forest's depths. Alara had always felt responsible for Lyra's disappearance, a burden that weighed heavily on her heart. The reflection in the water began to shift, morphing into visions of that night, Lyra's playful laughter, the way she had twirled in the moonlight, and then the chilling silence that followed. The image twisted and contorted, and Alara felt the sharp pang of guilt slicing through her. "Why did you leave me?" she whispered, her voice trembling as she reached out to touch the water's surface. The pool rippled violently, and suddenly, Lyra stood before her, a specter woven from moonbeams and shadows. "Lyra." Lyra's voice echoed, soft yet haunting. "You must let go." Tears streamed down Lyra's cheeks as she looked upon her sister's familiar face, now tinged with sorrow. "I've searched for you every day. I've carried the weight of your absence like a stone in my heart." "You must understand," Lyra replied, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. "I am not lost. I am free. You must free yourself too." The reflection shimmered, revealing scenes of Alara's life, moments filled with joy and pain, love and loss. Each image was a thread in the tapestry of her existence, but one thread stood out: her unyielding guilt. It had bound her to the past, preventing her from embracing the present. "Let me show you," Lyra said, her voice a gentle breeze. The water surged, and Alara was pulled into a whirlwind of memories. She felt the warmth of the sun on her face as they played together, the laughter shared over simple pleasures, the dreams they wove under the stars. But then came the shadows, the arguments, the misunderstandings. The day Lyra had wandered too far into the woods, the day Alara had lost her, Remember the joy we shared, Lyra urged, her voice now a melody that intertwined with the night's symphony. Remember me with love, not sorrow. It is time to heal. As the visions faded, Ilara found herself back at the water's edge, the moonlight shimmering like a blanket of stars. She felt a weight lift from her chest, a release of the burdens she had carried for far too long. In that moment, she understood that Lyra would always be a part of her, a reflection of love that transcended the physical world. I will remember you, Ilara whispered, her heart swelling with a newfound lightness. I will carry you with me forever. With that promise, the specter of Lyra smiled, her form dissolving into the moonlit mist. The pool's surface shimmered, reflecting not just Lyra's image, but a sense of peace she had thought lost forever. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gold and lavender, Ilara stood at the water's edge, transformed. The forest around her was alive with the sounds of awakening, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of new beginnings. She turned back toward the village, her heart no longer burdened by the past, but buoyed by the promise of the future. Ilara returned to Eldergrove, her spirit renewed, ready to share her story with the villagers. She spoke of the moonlight pool, of the reflection that revealed not just the darkness, but also the light. The villagers listened, captivated by her tale, and in that moment a shift occurred. They began to understand that their own stories were woven with threads of joy and sorrow, and that embracing both was the key to healing. In the days that followed, Ilara became a beacon of hope in the village, guiding others to confront their own reflections, to seek the truth within themselves. Together they wove a tapestry of resilience, where every thread, every story, added depth and richness to the fabric of their lives. And each night, as the moon cast its glow over Eldergrove, the villagers would gather, sharing tales under the shimmering stars, united by the understanding that the last reflection in moonlight was not just a glimpse of their past, but a promise of the future, a reminder that love, in all its forms, always endures. In the quaint village of Eldermere, nestled between the towering cliffs and the whispering woods, there existed a passage known only to the oldest of villagers. The Hollow Passage, as it was called, was a narrow, winding corridor that snaked through the heart of the cliffs, leading to the forgotten realms of time and memory. It was said that those who ventured into its depths could hear the echoes of their past, but few dared to tread its path, for the tales of the Hollow Passage were steeped in a shroud of mystery and unease. The protagonist of our tale, a young woman named Ilara, had grown up with the stories of the passage, listening intently as her grandmother recounted the legends by the flickering firelight. Ilara was an inquisitive soul, her heart brimming with dreams and a thirst for adventure that set her apart from her peers. While the other villagers spoke of the passage with a mixture of reverence and fear, Ilara felt a pull towards it, a yearning to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within its depths. One misty morning, driven by an inexplicable urge, Ilara set out towards the cliffs. The village was still wrapped in slumber, the aroma of dew-kissed earth mingling with the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers. As she approached the entrance of the Hollow Passage, a chill ran down her spine, but her determination outweighed her fear. The air grew cooler, and the sounds of the village faded into a haunting silence. The entrance was obscured by tangled vines and moss-covered stones. Ilara pushed aside the vegetation, revealing a dark maw that seemed to beckon her closer. With a deep breath, she stepped inside, the darkness enveloping her like a thick cloak. The passage was damp and cool, the walls slick with moisture. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she noticed strange markings etched into the stone, twisting patterns that seemed to shift and dance in the flickering light of her lantern. With each step deeper into the passage, Ilara felt a growing sense of unease. The silence was palpable, broken only by the sound of her own heartbeat and the distant drip of water echoing through the stone corridor. Yet she pressed on, her curiosity guiding her through the winding tunnels. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of earth, and something else, something ancient. As she ventured further, the passage opened into a vast chamber, illuminated by an ethereal glow that emanated from a pool of water at its center. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the light in a mesmerizing dance of colors. Ilara approached cautiously, kneeling at the edge of the pool. As she peered into its depths, she was startled to see not her own reflection, but visions of her past, a tapestry woven with moments of joy, sorrow, and longing. She saw her childhood running through the fields with her friends, laughter ringing in the air like the sweetest melody. She saw her grandmother, wise and gentle, teaching her the ways of the world. But then the visions shifted, darker memories surfacing like shadows in the water. Illyra's heart ached as she witnessed the loss of her beloved pet the day her father left for a journey that would take him far from home, and the moment she realized life was not as simple as she once believed. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she absorbed the echoes of her life. The passage was revealing her heart, laying bare the layers of her existence. Yet amid the sorrow, she felt a flicker of hope, a reminder that every ending was also a beginning. As she continued to gaze into the pool, she became aware of a presence beside her, a figure cloaked in shadows, watching her with eyes that glimmered like distant stars. "Who are you?" Lara whispered, her voice trembling. "I am a keeper of memories," the figure replied, its voice soft as a breeze. "I guard the echoes that dwell within this passage. Few have ventured here, and fewer still have faced their own truths." Ilara felt a strange comfort in the being's presence, a sense of understanding that transcended words. "What must I do?" she asked, her heart pounding with anticipation. "To embrace your past is to free your future," the keeper said. "You must confront the echoes that haunt you, the shadows that linger in your heart. Only then can you move forward." Taking a deep breath, Ilara nodded. She closed her eyes, allowing the memories to wash over her like a tide. The sorrow and joy intertwined, forming a mosaic of her life. She felt the weight of her losses, but also the warmth of love and connection that had shaped her. With each memory, she whispered her acceptance, releasing the pain that had anchored her to the past. As she opened her eyes, the chamber shimmered with light, the shadows retreating as if acknowledging her newfound strength. The keeper smiled, a gentle expression that radiated warmth. "You have embraced your echoes, Ilara. You are free to carve your path anew." With those words, the pool began to ripple, and the visions transformed into a swirling vortex of colors. Lara felt a pull, a gentle tug at her very essence. The passage around her began to dissolve, replaced by the bright light of the outside world. She shielded her eyes as she emerged, stumbling into the sunlit glade that lay beyond the cliffs. The village was alive with the sounds of laughter and music, the air fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers. Lara stood there, heart racing, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. As she had faced her past and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future. As she made her way back to Eldermere, she felt a sense of purpose guiding her steps. The echoes of the hollow passage would always be a part of her, woven into the fabric of her being. But now, instead of being shackled by them, she carried them as a testament to her journey, a reminder that every experience, every joy and sorrow shaped who she was meant to become. The villagers greeted her with smiles, their faces lighting up at her return. Ilara felt a surge of love for her community, for the bonds that tied them together. She had learned that life was not merely a collection of memories, but a tapestry of connections that spanned beyond time and space. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over Eldermere, Ilara gathered her friends around the fire. She shared her story of the hollow passage, of the keeper of memories, and the echoes that had guided her home. The villagers listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder, and as she spoke, Ilara realized that she was not only sharing her journey, but also inviting them to explore their own. That night, under a blanket of stars, Ilara felt a deep sense of belonging. The hollow passage had revealed its secrets, not just to her, but to all who dared to listen. In the heart of Eldermere, the echoes would continue to resonate, reminding them that every journey, no matter how winding, leads back to the love and connection that bind them together. And so, the tale of the hollow passage became woven into the very fabric of Eldermere, a story passed down through generations. A reminder that while the past shapes us, it is the future we create that defines who we are. In the heart of Eldergrove, a quaint village cradled by ancient oaks and whispering winds, there stood a peculiar lantern. It was no ordinary lantern, for it had a glow that danced like starlight and a warmth that embraced the soul. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it the lantern that never fades. Legend had it that the lantern was a gift from the spirits of the forest, a beacon of hope and guidance for those who had lost their way. The lantern hung from a gnarled branch of the oldest oak tree, its light flickering gently even on the darkest nights. Many had attempted to snuff its flame, believing it to be a mere trick of the mind or an illusion born of longing. Yet no storm could extinguish its light, and no shadow could dim its glow. It was said that the lantern held the memories of those who had come before, illuminating their paths and whispering their stories to anyone willing to listen. Among the villagers was a young girl named Ilara, whose heart pulsed with curiosity and wonder. She had grown up listening to tales of the lantern, her imagination alight with possibilities. Each night, she would sit beneath the oak, her eyes fixed on the flickering glow, as if it were a portal to another world. The stories of lost wanderers finding their way home, of lovers reunited, and of dreams rekindled filled her with a yearning to discover the secrets that lay within the lantern's light. One chilly autumn evening, as the leaves danced down from the trees, Ilara decided that she would no longer be a mere observer of the lantern's magic. She would seek the truth behind its brilliance. With a small satchel of provisions and a heart full of determination, she set off into the depths of the forest, where the whispers of the trees grew louder and the shadows deeper. The forest was alive with sounds: the rustle of leaves, the distant call of owls, and the soft murmur of a brook that wound its way through the underbrush. Ilara followed the brook, believing it would lead her to the heart of the forest, where the spirits dwelled. The air was crisp, imbued with the scent of pine and damp earth, and with each step, she felt a growing connection to the land around her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in hues of violet and gold, Ilara stumbled upon a clearing. At its center stood a circle of stones, each one etched with symbols that glimmered faintly in the dimming light. In the middle of the circle, a small fire flickered, its flames dancing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Drawn in by an unseen force, Ilara approached the circle, her breath hitching in her throat. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman cloaked in silver, her hair cascading like a waterfall of stars. Her eyes held the depth of the night sky, and her presence radiated a serenity that calmed Ilara's racing heart. "Welcome, seeker of truth," the woman spoke, her voice like the rustle of leaves. "I am Lyra, guardian of the lantern's light. You've come seeking answers, have you not?" Lara nodded, her voice caught in her throat. "I want to know the secrets of the lantern. Why does it never fade?" Lyra smiled softly, gesturing for Ilara to sit by the fire. "The lantern is a vessel of memories and dreams. It holds the essence of those who have loved, lost, and found their way again. Each flame represents a story, a life lived fully. It shines not for itself, but as a reminder that hope and love endure, even in the darkest of times." Ilara leaned closer, captivated by the warmth of the fire and the wisdom in Lyra's words. "But how can I understand its power?" "To understand, you must first embrace your own story," Lyra replied. "The lantern's light is intertwined with the hearts of those who seek it. You must journey through your own shadows, confront your fears, and discover the truths that lie within." With those words, the fire flickered, and Ilara felt a rush of memories flood her mind, moments of joy, sorrow, and longing. She saw her younger self playing in the fields, her laughter ringing like a melody. But then, shadows crept in, memories of loss, of her mother's gentle smile fading into silence, of her father's weary eyes as he struggled to keep their home together. The weight of those memories pressed down on her, threatening to extinguish the light within her. "Do not shy away from your past, Ilara," Lyra urged gently. "Embrace it. Each memory, whether painful or joyous, has shaped you into who you are. The lantern shines for those who dare to confront their truths." With a deep breath, Ilara closed her eyes and allowed herself to feel the full weight of her experiences. She recalled the warmth of her mother's embrace, the way her laughter could light up a room, and the strength her father had shown in the face of adversity. The pain of loss was still there, but it was intertwined with love, a love that had not faded, just transformed. As she opened her eyes, the fire blazed brighter, and the lantern's glow seemed to pulse in harmony with her heartbeat. "I understand," she whispered. "It's not just about the light. It's about the love that fuels it." Lyra nodded, her eyes shimmering with approval. "You have begun to grasp the essence of the lantern. Now you must carry that light within you and share it with others. The world is full of shadows, and there are many who need guidance." Ilara felt a surge of determination. I will share its light. I will help others find their way. Then your journey is just beginning, Lyra said. Remember, the lantern's glow is not solely for you. It is a beacon for all who seek it. With each act of kindness, each moment of compassion, you will feed the flame. As dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, Ilara stood with renewed purpose. The lantern's glow was now a part of her, a guiding light that would illuminate her path. She bid farewell to Lyra, who smiled knowingly, and made her way back to Eldergrove. In the days that followed, Ilara became a source of hope in her village. She listened to the stories of others, comforting those who grieved, celebrating the joys of life, and reminding them of the light that resided within. The lantern's glow was no longer just a flickering flame in the woods. It had become a fire that burned brightly in the hearts of the villagers. Seasons changed, and as the years passed, the stories of the lantern grew and evolved. Eldergrove thrived, its people united by the warmth of shared experiences and the strength of their connections. Ilara often returned to the oak tree where the lantern still hung, its light unwavering. She would sit beneath its boughs, a smile on her face, knowing that the flame was a reflection of the love that enveloped the village. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the stars began to twinkle, Ilara felt a familiar presence beside her. It was Lyra, her silver cloak shimmering in the moonlight. "You have done well, Ilara," she said softly. "You have become a guardian of the light." Ilara beamed, her heart swelling with pride. "I have learned that the lantern's power lies not in its flame, but in the love and stories we share." "Indeed," Lyra replied. "And as long as there are hearts willing to love and remember, the lantern will never fade." With those words, Lyra stepped back into the shadows of the forest, her figure dissolving into the night. Ilara watched as the lantern's glow brightened, illuminating the path ahead. She understood now that the journey was ongoing, a tapestry woven from the threads of countless lives intertwined. As she rose to return to the village, she felt the warmth of the lantern within her, a guiding light that would never dim. The lantern that never fades was not just a relic of the past. It was a promise of hope, a reminder that love, in all its forms, would always endure. And so, the lantern continued to shine, its light a beacon for generations to come, a testament to the power of stories and the resilience of the human spirit. In Eldergrove, the tales of the lantern wove through the hearts of its people, echoing the timeless truth that even in the darkest of nights, love would always lead them home. Rain licked the windows of the crumbling estate, soft and persistent, as though the sky had grown tired of keeping its distance and now longed to press itself against the ancient glass. The house stood far from town, past the hedgerow woods and fields left fallow long ago, and only a single winding lane led up to its front gate siren things, twisted and rusted like the ribs of some long-dead beast. The manor had not always been forsaken. There was a time when children's laughter had echoed across its halls and garden paths, when the ballroom had sparkled with light and life, and every fireplace roared with warmth. But those days were long gone, scattered like dust across the years. Carried through the floorboards at night or whispered beneath the crackling of old vinyl left spinning on an untouched turntable. When Ilara arrived, it was nearing dusk. The taxi driver hadn't wanted to take her up the hill. He'd muttered something about the road being bad, the tires too worn, and she'd sensed that wasn't the real reason. But money had changed hands, and so he'd brought her as far as the gate. She hauled her suitcase the rest of the way herself, boots squelching in mud, the sky above heavy with gray sorrow. The house loomed as she approached for stories of stone and shadow. Its eaves blackened with age, the front doors shut like a mouth that had forgotten how to speak. Still, she felt no fear. Ilara had inherited the place from an aunt she'd never met, and she wasn't one too shy from the peculiar. In fact, that was half the appeal. She wanted quiet, space, time to work on her paintings without the clatter and crush of city life. The isolation didn't bother her, not at first. The key worked. The lock was stubborn, but eventually yielded, and the doors swung inward with a creak that felt rehearsed. Ilara stepped inside, breath held, and took in the smell of the old house dust. Would polish something faintly floral and oddly sweet. The foyer stretched wide, floored with intricate tiles that time had not yet stolen. A grand staircase rose to her right, curving with elegance. Every surface was crowded with antique furniture, faded portraits, and shelves filled with books whose titles had long since disappeared beneath mold and decay. But it was the dolls that caught her attention. They were everywhere. Perched on mantels, nestled in chairs, lined up neatly on every sill and shelf. Porcelain, wood, cloths some no larger than her hand, others near the size of children. Their faces bore the delicate craftsmanship of another era. Glassy eyes, tiny mouths, skin pale as moonlight. Some smiled gently, others did not. She moved past them, wheeling her suitcase through the parlor and into what appeared to be a library. More dolls lined the walls. She ran a hand over the back of a velvet armchair, unease pricking her skin like static. It was irrational, she told herself. A house this old would naturally have strange decorations. Her Aunt Agatha must have collected them. Harmless curiosities, nothing more. That night the wind howled through the trees and the dolls watched from their high perches as Alara slept. She did not dream, or at least she remembered none of it come morning. Days passed. She explored room by room, finding that the house was far larger than she'd expected, with entire wings sealed by warped doors or draped in dust-thick sheets. She uncovered forgotten journals, a wardrobe filled with moth-eaten dresses, and a music room where the grand piano still sat. Keys yellowed and teeth-like. In every room, more dolls. Always more dolls. She began to paint again. The old nurserie's walls, pale green and lined with murals of rabbits and birds, had become her studio. Light poured through the tall windows each morning, and she found herself swept up in her work. Yet she noticed something strange. Her paintings, though she hadn't intended it, began to take on new shapes. Children's faces emerged from the canvas, their eyes wide and searching. A doll's silhouette appeared, where she'd meant to paint a tree. She told herself it was the influence of her surroundings, her mind soaking in the atmosphere. But deep down, something colder stirred. It started small. A doll she didn't remember moved to the end of the hallway. A lullaby hummed softly beneath the floorboards, tapping at the window when there was no wind. At night, the silence pressed too close, so she left the radio on low. But it always clicked off around 3:17 a.m. without fail. One morning, she awoke to find the word "stay" scrawled in the condensation on her mirror. Another day, a doll she'd tucked into a drawer now sat at her bedside, its tiny hands folded neatly in its lap, its eyes fixed on her pillow. No, she phoned the lawyer who had handled the estate. No other family, he said. Miss Agatha was peculiar, yes, but no history of harm. Lived alone for decades, had a thing for dolls. That's all. Did she believe they were real? Alara asked a pause. She said they kept her company. Said they watched over the house. Yeah. I always thought she meant it metaphorically. Lara hung up and turned slowly toward the foyer, where a cluster of the dolls sat in a small wooden rocking chair. They weren't smiling anymore. She thought of leaving, packed a bag. But as she reached the door, her keys were gone. The car wouldn't start. Her phone flickered, died, and refused to charge again. She was alone, or nearly. The house grew colder, not from weather, but from something deeper, an absence of warmth. As though whatever light had once filled the place had been swallowed by eyes too many and too small to name. One night she woke to the sound of footsteps on the stairs, light, rhythmic, not heavy enough to be a person. She sat upright, breath caught in her throat. The footsteps paused just outside her bedroom door. She didn't move. Then came the soft creak of the door handle turning. Nothing entered, but the dolls on her bookshelf had changed positions. One now faced her directly, its mouth parted slightly as if whispering something only it could hear. She began to write down what she saw. She kept a journal, sketching the dolls as they moved, noting the sounds, the strange flickers of movement caught in mirrors. She stopped painting altogether. Then the dreams returned. Children wandered through endless hallways, calling for mothers who did not answer. A little girl with eyes of onyx stared from beneath her bed. A doll, burned and faceless, reached for her through smoke. She woke screaming more than once, and each time, she found a new doll waiting on the windowsill, in the sink, beside her brushes, always watching. The truth came not in a scream, but in silence. In the attic behind a door she hadn't noticed, Alara found the nursery again, but this one was different, older, untouched. Toys strewn across the floor, a mobile swaying though no air moved, and in the center, a cradle. Inside, a porcelain doll, larger than the rest. Its dress was stained, and a crack ran from its temple to its chin. It lay still. Alara stepped closer. A journal sat nearby. Agatha's. The final entries were frantic, ink smeared by trembling hands. They want to be remembered. They were mine once. All mine, but I couldn't save them. The dolls are their anchors. I didn't mean to keep them here, only wanted to protect them, but they grew restless. I grew old. They want new eyes now, new hands. A keeper. A watcher. Ilara backed away. The doll's eyes opened. She ran. Through corridors that shifted, halls that grew too long, past faces that blinked without moving. She reached the front door and flung it open. Outside, the rain had stopped. The world was quiet. But as she stepped into the threshold, she felt it, tethered gentle but unbreakable, like a thread wrapping around her wrist. The dolls watched from every window, and she understood. She was part of the house now. She would watch, as Agatha had. She would paint. She would listen to the whispers, rock the empty cradle, tend to the dolls. And in time, she would forget the world beyond the gate. Because when the dolls keep watch, they do not blink. And neither now would she.